Good. Hey, YouTubers. I'm getting TikTok going and we are set. A warning today. I am trying to use my newer internet, which is slower. So this is going to be interesting to see if it works. So I'll need to know, if things are lagging, if it freezes, whatever. But let's see. It's it's so much cheaper with T-Mobile, but I'm not convinced it's as good a service as my Verizon and my Xfinity, which bums me out because I really want to leave Xfinity, but we'll see. All right. Hey, YouTube. Hey, TikTok. Hello, TikToker. How's everybody doing today? Hello, hello. Thank you, Diana, for the gift. Kim as well. Woo. Anyway, how is everybody doing today? Are we all well after a long, well, not a long weekend, but a regular weekend? Thank you, Larissa. Anyway, hello all. Pedro, Mikey, user 336, as always, Bjorn, Carol, lots of gifts coming in. Thank you guys. John, oh, nice one from Find Out. The Dragon Fire gift that I love. Bjorn, thank you as well. Lots of gifts here. Ooh, thank you guys. Wait, John S, Find Out. I don't want to miss people here. Anyway, welcome everybody. So yeah, we are back. It's Monday. The world is still in one piece. Donald Trump has been trying to break it into many pieces, but nonetheless, we'll talk about that. Thank you, LR2. It's been an eventful weekend in America. Hey, Paula. Thank you, Crazy American. Thank you, user 336. Naisha. Yes, Paula, I got the chocolate that Paula sent me from the UK, so that's been exciting. A little sugary, but exciting. Thank you, Carmen. Anyway, so yes, welcome guys. This is my daily show I do Monday to Friday on TikTok, YouTube, and Discord, where we talk about the latest news from Ukraine. I also talk about the latest news from America with Donald Trump as well, because you got to talk, I can't avoid talking about the man. It's too important. There were a lot of news updates already this weekend. Thank you, Daniel. Let's start talking about them. So actually, first up, there are more TikTok updates. Thank you, Carmelina. So there were a couple stories this weekend on what's going on with TikTok and the ban. Okay, a couple different stories. Like I said, thank you, Elizabeth. So first of all, we've got a Reuters story this weekend saying that Oracle is in the process of potentially trying to buy TikTok. Trump then denied it, which is classic Trump, so you never know what the hell's going on. But supposedly, Oracle was working with a coalition of some tech companies, including Microsoft, on putting together a bid or something to buy TikTok America. Not TikTok overall, but TikTok America. Not clear, but that's what Reuters was saying. It was not clear at all whether TikTok was a party to this, meaning, does this mean TikTok's negotiating with Oracle, or just that Oracle was putting in a bid, right? Then another story broke last night or this morning that the company, did I write down the name? Perplexity AI, which is an artificial intelligence competitor of ChatGPT and OpenAI. They had already put in a bid for TikTok. They've amended it, and basically what the article is saying, this is a little weird. What the article is saying is Perplexity AI has said they want to form a new company that is a combination of TikTok US and Perplexity AI, a new combined company. The price range is above north of $50 billion, 50, which sounds right from what we're hearing about TikTok's value. The algorithm would not be included. TikTok's algorithm, like its computer program that decides what to show you next, for example, right? That's not included. Good luck, voter, on your job interview. And the weird part about this is Perplexity AI amended its offer today to say, thank you, running, that if this new company it wants to form with TikTok US, if it ever goes public, right? Thank you, Parda. Thank you, running. If it ever sells stock, America, the U.S. government has the right to buy 50% of the company. Now, That struck me as a little weird. I don't want the US government controlling my social media apps. That's creepy, right? If you're a Republican, you don't want Joe Biden or Alexandria Ocasio Cortez or whoever controlling your social media app. And if you're a Democrat, you don't want Donald Trump controlling your social media app. I thought that was very weird. And I would think that Republicans and Democrats together would probably agree that they don't love the idea of the US government or any government like owning the US TikTok app. I just or 50% of it, right? I mean, isn't that kind of weird? Um, I just thought that was, I mean, now the only thing is Trump has said in the last few days, Trump actually said this. Remember several days ago? Something like, well, the US can take over 50% of TikTok or TikTok US. And the way he said it sounded like he meant the US government. And I remember hearing it and thinking, did he mean the US government taking over TikTok? What did he mean? That is at least what one of the offers is, not to take over. It is as part of the offer to buy TikTok US. If TikTok US ever went public and was a certain size, 300 billion or whatever, that the US government would either get half or would have the right to buy half. Again, I think that's insane. I mean, that's just insane. What's ironic about this, and then we'll move on to the other topics, but I thought because the TikTok story is obviously important to my TikTok friends here, important to me as well. The whole reason the US government passed this legislation against TikTok was because they were afraid of government influence on TikTok. So, how is that solved by having another government literally own TikTok or TikTok US? Thank you, Swan, right? I mean, it's the same problem. I mean, yes, it's the US government instead of Chinese, but if you're a Democrat or a Republican, do you want the president of the other party controlling one of the major, like the social media apps in America? Like, I don't, right? I don't trust Trump, and Republicans wouldn't trust a Democratic president. It's creepy. Anyway, very creepy. So I just thought I'd mention that. So Trump this weekend, Trump had many crazy stories came up this weekend about Trump. There was a story about, which was true, that Trump ended up, I don't know whether he had done this by Friday evening or whether it was Saturday, but Trump is banning a bunch of the sort of civil rights programs in the US government. They've got a new name, DEI, which whatever. I get sort of tired with the left and all of their names for things personally. And frankly, this is all the time. People are like, no, we're calling it this now. And I'm always like, okay, what are we calling things now? Every day we've got to change the name we call things because it's better somehow. After a while, I get a little annoyed, but that's fine. Thank you, Carmelina. So this story, Trump has decided he no longer wants DEI offices, diversity. I always forget it. Diversity, equality, and inclusion, maybe? Is that what it's called? Thank you. Yeah, exactly, for the potato, Carmelina. He no longer wants those offices in U.S. government agencies. And they're offices that oversee civil rights, diversity, making sure everything's going okay, right? Equity, it's equity, okay. But so anyway, Trump has canceled this. He's fired all the people that run these offices in all the U.S. government agencies. And as part of this, the Pentagon interpreted Trump's order as being get rid of every, which it was get rid of every diversity training, right? So the Pentagon canceled its diversity training, and it included pulling the video. It pulled 2 videos from their trainings. One video was about the it still always cracks me up whenever I use my iPhone to stream on YouTube or Discord, and I put my thumb up, for example, it shows a thumbs up. Oh, now it's doing fireworks. It's very funny. But the Pentagon canceled a video that it no longer was going to show about the Tuskegee Airmen. So because of Trump's order not to promote diversity, the Pentagon pulled a video that it used to show in the Air Force about and I will tell you the story because it's a very important story in U.S. history. Um, they pulled a video about the Tuskegee Airmen. They no longer were showing it at the Pentagon because of Trump's order, and they would show it to Air Force personnel, basic training. Right, you join the Air Force, and the reason they would show it is because it was an important part of Air Force history people didn't know about. Um, the Tuskegee Airmen were African American or black, because you can be black as larger community than just African American. They were black pilots and the associated staff. There were maybe 1,000 or 1,500 pilots, but there were another 10,000 aviation staff that worked with them. Thank you, Chazak. So these could be mechanics. You could, lots of other jobs with aviation. And during World War II, they ran missions in Europe, and they would run missions providing support and guiding U.S. bombers and this kind of stuff. But they ran I'm trying to remember if it was 15,000 missions or something in Europe against the Germans in World War II. And it was an all-black air. The Army research group or something had concluded at the time that black men were incapable of flying ridiculous claim. Black men were incapable of flying fighter jets because they didn't have the fortitude. And there was some other word what fortitude meaning strength of character and body. I mean, it was just ridiculous what they were claiming. So they wouldn't let black men be pilots. Well, black women, of course, because women couldn't do anything then, but they wouldn't let black men be pilots. So yes, let me know if my stream is buffering because I'll have to switch the Wi-Fi because I'm testing, by the way, just so folks know, I'm testing some T-Mobile Wi-Fi. Maybe it's good enough. If maybe it's good enough for me to switch, we'll see. Was stamina the other thing, Luis? It was, they don't have the stamina and the fortitude to be fighter pilots, which is ridiculous. So what these guys did is they proved they did. They were amazing. They got, it's buffering like crazy on YouTube. All right, YouTube, I'm going to switch and let's hope it doesn't cancel on YouTube. If it does, I'll have to start the stream again. Hang on a second. YouTube networks. Which one am I on? Hold on. Oh, I'm on this one. Yes. Let me. All right. All right. YouTube. I just changed to the stronger connection, and I'm hoping let's see how this one is. Sorry, guys. I've been sort of working on my internet streams and figuring out what works and what doesn't and all of that. So, I apologize for the interruptions for that, but I need feedback to know kind of how it's going. All right, I have changed to the faster connection, but still T-Mobile on YouTube. See how it goes for a few minutes. TikTok, obviously, mods and regulars, let me know. All right, so bottom line is these guys were famous, right? These Black American pilots, super famous. And they pulled the video. The Trump administration killed the video because it was promoting diversity. The other thing that is not getting talked about as much, they also pulled a video about women in World War II. And it was back in World War II, again, women weren't really allowed, right? They sort of, combat roles or anything else. But World War II happens, all the men leave and go to war, and they realized they needed help. So they decided to have women do more. Well, there was there were actually two groups, I think. The one was the WASPs, but was the other WAIFs as well, I think, like WAF. I'm trying to remember the other one. I think it was WAF. But the WASPs, basically, there was a video about women who would fly the airplanes from the airplane factories to the military bases so they could ship them to Europe or whatever. The waves, I was saying WAFs. I think it's the waves. Yeah, but they said WASPs as well. WASPs and waves, I think. In any case, they pulled that video as well. One of the videos they would show people in basic training for the Air Force was about these African-American heroes from World War II and about the special role that American women played in the U.S. Air Force in World War II. And I think that's nice. It's literally military history, right? Well, the Trump administration killed it because, right, they said it was about, civil rights and diversity. And from their perspective, it's It's focusing not enough on, what matters and this kind of stuff. Well, it's back. It caused a huge, huge outcry. I actually did a video on it this weekend. The video got over 5 million views on TikTok, which I've got a good, I love you guys on TikTok, but it is not all the time that I get 5 or 6 million views on TikTok. And what was particularly touching to me, but also bothered me in a way because these kind of decisions hurt people. It's not just a matter of changing our history and hiding our history, but the number of African Americans who reached out to me on TikTok privately to thank me for speaking up about this. And it was really nice because I've never had that happen before on TikTok from any group of people. But it also was kind of very sad that, that we're making decisions like this that impact people that literally hide the history of people in our country. And that's just horrible. Anyway, it was very sweet. Like I said, people to reach out, but at the same time, it was very upsetting in a way to see how many people this affected personally, because it was there. And the number of people too, who, thank you, Grace. Appreciate that. There were a number of people who were descendants of men who fought as black pilots in World War II. And one guy, very interesting, told me he won some kind of medal or commendation in the Air Force in ROTC or something that was named after Tuskegee, which I wasn't familiar with, but that was really cool. He just reached out to tell me, he was like, oh my God, I know all about it. I won, in ROTC, I won the Tuskegee Award or commendation or whatever it's called. Anyway, it was just very interesting to see the impact this kind of stuff has. Any case, the Trump administration has now reversed itself. It caused a big scandal. They are now going to show the history of black pilots, the Tuskegee Airmen, in basic training for the Air Force, and they are going to show the history of women in the Air Force, especially the brave women and proud women who helped in World War II, fighting on the American side, flying the planes, things like that. So it was a good outcome. Actually, it's a really, really good outcome. What is interesting about this is it also shows you that the Trump administration can be challenged and it can be reversed, which I think is an important lesson for people as well. They got overruled, as Annie just said, which was interesting. It's terrible they did it, but we won. The good guys won. So anyway, the other thing was Colombia. So Colombia, the country of Colombia, which Trump apparently, the White House issued a press release referring to the country of Colombia as Columbia, Columbia, which is actually the university in New York. There are two ways to spell Colombia. One way is the name of the country, which is Colombia with an O, two O's, and the other is Columbia, Colu, which is the fleece and the University of New York. Well, Trump, and he probably did do it on purpose, actually, Sirpachi said, he literally spelled in the press release the name of the country wrong. And it was like, so Trump this weekend was about to raise coffee prices massively for Americans. Fortunately, that changed in the end. And I was reading up on this, Trump made a mistake, basically. I shouldn't say a mistake. He probably did it on purpose. He was deporting people that were here illegally who were criminals. And I'm fine with that. And Biden did that too, by the way. People were Trump did it. Biden did it too. But he decided to use U.S. military aircraft to fly them to the country of Colombia and didn't get permission. And you can't just fly your military into another country's airspace to land without prior permission because it's creepy, right? Any plane has to get permission. But you don't fly military planes because it looks like an invasion, right? So Trump did not get prior permission. The Colombians said, no, you can't do it. The Colombians also complained because the treatment, a lot of these people, thank you, Dawn, arriving in Brazil and other places have been saying that they've been mistreated. They refused, they kept them handcuffed the entire way. They refused to give them water on the flights, things like that. So The president of Colombia said, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to accept them. And Trump said, fine, then I am going to hit you with 25% tariffs this week, and next week, 50% tariffs. Oh, that's good, Frank. 50% tariffs next week on Colombia. The problem for America is, now, for two problems. One, for Colombia, most of its trade is with the U.S. This would destroy the Colombian economy. But by Trump doing this, you have just told Colombia to no longer be dependent on the American economy because we will threaten you. The Chinese have been making major inroads in Latin America. I have a map I was going to show you. I don't know if I have it. Let me see. I think I've got the map here. Major inroads in the last 20 years where a number of Latin American countries that used to be, the U.S. was their top, imports came from the U.S. from the top. Now it's, here it is. Yeah. Now it's China. So this is 2000 versus 2022. Blue is America, red is China. And you can see the blue is 2000. So the U.S. was the main trading partner the lead trading partner for all of Latin America. 2024 is the other map showing the red. You've got much of South America. Central America, Panama, looks like it's switched. Colombia is still U.S. Venezuela, get it going away. I always forget, is that the Guyana and those other places up there? But Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Ecuador, Peru, a number of them have now switched to China. That is dangerous. Thank you, KT. That's bad for the U.S. We do not want China to take over in our backyard, and they are. Well, Colombia finally backed down. The Colombian president backed down, so it is now resolved. But two things. One, Trump was willing to add a 50% tax on coffee coming into our country. 25% of American coffee comes from Colombia. 90% of American coffee comes from abroad. We make coffee in Hawaii, but that's it, more or less. There's a little bit somewhere else there was coffee too, I read. But 90% of our coffee is imported. 27% comes from Colombia. So that's 25% total of our coffee in the U.S. comes from Colombia. So not a good thing. And what Trump did was he put a massive tax on American coffee. You would have seen coffee prices have spiked anyway. They started spiking last night, and very bad. And the thing is, what's annoying about this, and we've talked about this before, is Trump has recently discovered tariffs, and it's his big thing to threaten the world with. He's threatening Denmark with tariffs if they don't hand over Greenland to the U.S. He's threatened Canada with tariffs. He's threatened Mexico. He's threatened China. What I think Trump does realize, but doesn't care. He must realize. Tariffs are taxes on Americans. When you put a tariff on a good, Trump keeps pretending like foreign governments pay tariffs. No, they don't. A tariff simply increases the price of the good coming in. So an iPhone or a car from Mexico, because a lot of American cars get assembled in Mexico. They cross the U.S. border, and the company here pays whatever, right? We pay for Apple, China puts together the iPhones, and they cross the border into the U.S. or whatever. Let's pretend that an iPhone that you buy for $1,000, let's pretend that iPhone costs $500 to Apple when they import it from China or whatever, or whoever is selling it. Well, if Trump puts a 25% tariff on goods from China, which he's talking about doing, or more, that means the iPhone price is no longer $500. It's now $625 is the price. Well, if it now costs $625 and I'm the guy importing it, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to increase the price, right? I just cut into my profit. I may do 50-50. Maybe when the price goes up, I'll make consumers pay some of it. Maybe I'll eat a little bit of it. But tariffs absolutely positively raise prices. Tariffs are inflationary. And Trump, like I said, I think he knows this, but he keeps not telling people this. This would have been a major increase in the price of coffee for the U.S. And we've got a lot of other stuff that Trump is threatening to put tariffs on too. Again, iPhones from China, cars, U.S. cars that we buy, a lot of them come from Mexico, lumber and oil from Canada. You get it. It's something that you've got to. Well, that is correct. Ted J. as well. This is the other problem, as Ted J. just said. If it gets too expensive, you're not going to import it, and you're going to have to turn to American products. Correct. Or American production, I should say, right? Because currently they don't have the manufacturing capacity to make those cars in America, the ones that are being made in Mexico. They don't have the additional capacity. So either we have to pay 25 to 50% more for the cars, or we just don't import them. And now there's fewer cars to buy. And what happens? The price goes through the roof. Over the long term, we can increase our capacity in America. Everybody thinks that's great, right? Oh, yay. We can have Americans make the cars. You can. The only problem is American employees are paid 5 times as much. 5 times as much as Mexicans. 5 times. So imagine what's going to happen to the price of cars coming into America, American cars that are assembled in Mexico, if we assemble them in America instead, and the cost of the workforce is 5 times what we pay the Mexicans. Now, and this is a real conundrum in economics, right? I mean, it's a real conundrum in economics because in principle, all of us love making products in our own country, right? Buy America or buy Denmark or whatever your country is, right? But if you've got to pay hundreds of dollars more for that product, do you want to do that? Is that what you want to do? I don't think so, right? I don't think so. In any case, so that was a big issue this weekend, was the Colombian elections. All right, let's move on to Belarus. I have to chuckle a little bit because somebody just complained on TikTok and said, did you ever criticize Biden when he was president? Oh, hardy har har har, as Nancy Pelosi likes to say. You clearly have never watched my show if you think I never criticized Joe Biden. I mean, let people here can tell you, I've pissed people off how much I criticized Joe Biden because I thought Joe Biden was very weak on foreign policy. He was very weak, and he was afraid of Vladimir Putin. He did a really lousy job in Ukraine in many ways. Yeah, you're a newbie if you think I've never criticized Joe Biden. Fair point, but oh yeah, oh yeah. I am, Biden, I think, was a better president than Trump by a million miles, but Biden was very bad on foreign policy. He was very bad on Ukraine, for starters, and he was afraid of Vladimir Putin. So, all right, let's move on. Belarus. So Belarus, our wonderful favorite dictatorship next to Russia, Russia's little best friend. They just had an election, and you will be happy to hear that the lifetime dictator of Belarus, Lukashenko, won with 86.8% of the vote. Whoa! Let's give a big goat scream. Wait. 86.8% of the vote. Oh my God. He's so popular. You always have to laugh when people who don't understand democracy and don't practice democracy. Putin does this too. Putin won around the same percentage. I forgot if it was 82 or 86%. In the old days, they used to say 99%, like North Korea would do that because the dictator was like, no, I want 99%, right? Don't give me 88%. Well, nowadays, the woke dictators basically go for 86%. Putin did the same thing. Does anybody remember what was Putin's margin of victory in the election a year or two ago? It was in the 80s. Was it 82 or was it 86 as well? I thought it was closer to 86 or something. Somebody Google 88, Jacob's saying, because I remember it being in the same range as Lukashenko's 87. Yeah. So it was in the same range. I think 86, 87, 88 is the new woke 99 for dictators to show like they're democratic. They don't get 100%. They just get 88%. So Lukashenko got 80. Actually, my favorite is imagine whoever is responsible in Belarus for faking the election, who's like, no, it will be 86.8%. Not 87, not 86, 86.8, because it makes it look really honest when you've got that little point percentage, right? Yes, dictator math. Yes, 5.6 is the new 99. Exactly. So anyway, let's move on to Ukraine news. So this was interesting. A lot of the news today is going to be via the Kyiv Independent, because the other sources, well, a little bit from a troubling story for the Economist too. But Trump may have helped persuade Hungary to agree to extending the sanctions on Russia. So Europe has been debating whether to extend, like the sanctions they have on Russia because of Ukraine go for a certain period of time. And then after that period, they have to be renewed. Well, Hungary said no. Hungary is run by a guy who's a bit of a wannabe dictator. He's anti-Europe. He's pro-Russia. He's pro-Putin. He's pro-Trump, but he doesn't like America otherwise. He really doesn't like Europe. He likes Russia. He's sort of the old style, Soviet style leader of Eastern Europe, or Viktor Orban. Well, he was blocking the renewal of the sanctions against Russia. And according to the foreign minister of Poland, it looks like Trump got him to agree to extend the. Now, Poland is saying it may have been a little indirect. Kyiv Independent. Trump may have helped persuade Hungary to lift its veto, according to Polish Prime Minister. The EU foreign minister has approved a 6-month extension of its sanctions against Russia on January 27th after Hungary withdrew its veto. Sikorski, who's the foreign minister of Poland, believes Trump's recent threats of sanctions against Moscow played a role in Hungary's decision. I think that President Trump helped here. This is what I've been saying. This whole thing with Trump has been very strange. It's been very, he's vacillating, he's vacillating on sort of being good vis-a-vis Ukraine and being bad vis-a-vis Ukraine. So, oops. Anyway, thank you, Ash, for the gift. So who knows? Who knows? I just don't know. In any case, all right, let's move on here. What else we got? North Korean soldiers. All right, so he's still buffering a little over at YouTube. Okay, I'm still sort of testing how this is working. YouTube, as I told folks, I'm trying a new T-Mobile internet that is ridiculously cheap, but it seems to go slow sometimes, and resolution's dropping. That's not good. Let me switch to my main one. I'm switching to my for YouTube, and YouTubers, see if that gets better in the next minute or so. Hopefully YouTubers didn't disappear. As I said, guys, I've got it. Now, interesting that on TikTok, it's being okay. Interesting. Well, what I was finding was on YouTube, on my laptop, I don't want to get into too much tech talk here, but internet speeds vary based on your device. On my new iPhone, the internet speed is great. On my iPad, it's good. On my MacBook Pro from 2018, the connection is pretty bad, which is interesting. And again, I try to sort of keep my devices for a while. My computer is literally from 2018. I try to be frugal and not buy a new one, but it's interesting that it's not, the connection isn't as good to the Wi-Fi. Yeah. Anyway. All right. Let's see. All right. That's bad news, because it may mean I'm going to have to get rid of my YouTube. Not looking good with T-Mobile. No. Well, it's switched now. So YouTube is now my good connection. So let's see if it's much better for everybody right now. Keep an eye. Actually, let me keep going with the news, guys. But just keep an eye on TikTok, because TikTok, I've still got the T-Mobile connection. YouTube, just pay attention for the rest of the show, how it's looking. Okay. Clear my cache. Okay. But just keep an eye on how it's looking on YouTube. Okay. Because I've now switched to my good Comcast connection. All right. Let me, well, maybe at the end of the show, guys, give me advice. I don't want to bore people who aren't here for internet talk. hang out if you would. At the end of the show, you can give me some advice on other things maybe I can try. But I'm a little afraid I'm going to have to pay. I mean, it's really kind of crazy. Let me just say, final point. My T-Mobile, I can get it for $35 a month for my internet, which is insane. In America, that's insane, which is unfortunate. I do speed tests. Yeah, Ozzy, I do speed tests all the time. But I'm trying to see how it actually works in practice, because the speed test doesn't really tell us how it's going to be on video. Yeah, well, let's see. All right, let me keep going here. So North Korean soldiers appear to have temporarily withdrawn from one area of the Kursk region, which is interesting. So you guys may recall that Ukraine, kind of controversially, has invaded Russia. They did several months ago, and they took some Russian land, and they're hoping to hang on to it as basically a bargaining chip, right? That they can trade with Russia eventually when they've got to, when Trump makes them negotiate, they can trade the land Ukraine's holding in Russia for the land Russia's holding in Ukraine. The North Korean troops have been fighting specifically in that region that Russia's using. A bunch of them just withdrew, at least temporarily. We're not sure what it means, but it's interesting at least, which is good. Anyway, let's go on. What else we got? So this was interesting. The Economist had an interesting article that I read right before I came out. I used to write for The Economist, by the way, just pat myself on the back. Actually, I do it so that folks who aren't familiar with me know that I do actually have a background in journalism, in foreign policy, things like that, so that I'm not just some joker giving you my opinion. I'm a little bit of, but I'm not just some joker giving you my opinion. I actually know things just because it's important on social, kind of remind folks who you are. So the Economist had some scary news for Ukraine. I would say no econ degree. Nope. Well, my background's law and foreign policy. I have a master's in foreign service from Georgetown, which is their public policy degree, and a law degree. Now, Frank Thomas, you're on the fast connection now. So anything that's buffering now, actually, this is interesting because now we're on the fast, my regular connection on YouTube. So the fact that it's buffering now means maybe it's not my cable. Actually, you just remind me, I'm going to mention that. You just reminded me there, mentioning the cable damage. Thank you. I forgot to mention that. I've just added it to my list right now, Daniela. Yeah, we'll talk a second because Gunther, you don't get what you pay for. This is my high-priced Xfinity that I'm on now. Yeah. So anyway, not sure YouTube, nothing I can do about it right now, but this makes it even harder because you're on my expensive internet now on YouTube. So not sure what to do about that. Yeah. Nope, this is a YouTube problem now. Nothing I can do about it because my connection is fine now. Thank you, Luis. Final pointer, since we're playing with the internet, what makes it so hard to figure out what internet to use? I was using my T-Mobile internet and the connection went bad. So I switched to my Comcast internet that is excellent, I've had for years, and the connection went bad again, which now means the test is useless because this is now a YouTube problem. It's not an internet problem, which makes it totally impossible. It's totally impossible to figure out. Anyway, yeah, there's nothing we can do about it, guys. You are on my fast internet. There is absolutely nothing that can be done. Actually, you know what I am going to do just for fun? I will do my speed test 1 second here just for fun. Sorry, you TikTokers. Like I said, today was a little bit of a test day for me to figure out my speeds. Let me just see here. I'm going to bet you the speed is great, which is going to tell us something. Actually, the upload, well, although maybe because I'm streaming, the speed is a little slow. It's a little slow, but we don't care about the download. We care about the upload. Yeah, I've got a new router, Dawn. My speeds are fantastic on this. The upload is a little slow, and I don't know why. Yeah, although I don't know if the upload is slow because I'm streaming. My upload speed's around 47. My upload speed right now is 47 for YouTube. I mean, that should be sufficient. That should be sufficient. And I don't know whether it's doing that because I'm streaming, like whether the upload speed would be slower because I'm streaming. You know what I mean? Anyway, let me keep going, guys. This is very turn off the Christmas lights. Never, never. My T-Mobile upload depends. My T-Mobile upload can be 120 or it can fall to very bad. It's usually 100 to 120, I'd say, upload, but it falls different times of day. So that's a problem. That's the only thing. I'm using my upload to stream, so I wouldn't, but even with streaming, I'm getting 47. So I don't know, guys. What Luna said, I pay $100 a month for Xfinity, and I've been having very bad signal, and at midnight, it basically stops working for a couple hours. Wow. That's interesting. My Xfinity is generally very good, but obviously I'm having some issues today. But it's very hard to know. I don't know. Anyway, let me keep going, guys. I don't want to waste too much time doing internet in the middle of the show because we lose people. We'll do it at the end. Yeah, 47 up. Yeah, but Luis, this is America. That's pretty good. Yep. All right. Let me keep going, guys. What else we got here? Oh, see, The Economist. I was going to tell you about an Economist story. We'll talk about internet at the end because I do want your feedback, but let's do it at the end. The Economist had kind of disturbing news for Ukraine. Basically, their main point was the front line with the Russians keeps moving slowly, but the Russians keep slowly doing better, right? That is disturbing because what The Economist said is if the Russians keep slowly doing better and slowly, I don't say doing better, but meaning slowly advancing the front line, so they slowly are taking more and more land from Ukraine. Thank you, Inger. That mitigates against them settling for a peace deal because from their perspective, they can just keep fighting and they're slowly getting more land, right? I will read you this from what The Economist said. Mr. Putin appears to have little reason to compromise. The Russians will not run out of weapons anytime soon, says intelligence officer Chernyak. They have at least a year, possibly two, to continue fighting as they have been. The military-industrial complex in Russia remains a sacred cow for the Kremlin and will be protected from possible economic headwinds, inflation, or sanctions. North Korea is meanwhile stepping in to supply items that are in short supply, such as gun barrels and artillery systems. Russia has shown it can function in a completely closed cycle. So the concern is that Putin may not have an incentive to negotiate if these small advances are enough, because Putin doesn't really care if he loses men. No, you've still got the economy in bad shape, so it's not clear if the advances are going so slowly, it's still not clear how long Russia can go, right? Because at some point, the war maybe does go on too long, but nonetheless, I thought that was an interesting point. And frankly, this is why Ukraine holding some Russian land potentially is useful because it becomes a bargaining chip to force the Russians to bargain. Two more stories. Foreign development aid is still frozen to Ukraine for 90 days. This includes Ukrainian NGOs or nonprofits, charities that support war veterans. Trump cut off all U.S. development aid around the world for 90 days because he wants to review all of it for political reasons. But that meant that aid we were giving Ukraine for, again, groups that help veterans and families affected by the war are no longer getting money because we cut them off. So, very heavy-handed of Trump, and I don't think it was wise, but this is what we're dealing with. Finally, and this came from Financial Times, Lithuania and Estonia are joining Trump's pledge or joining Trump's call for Europe to increase its defense spending to 5% of its GDP, 5% of its economy. The Lithuanians said that they are committed to spending between 5 and 6% of their economy, the GDP, on defense annually until 2030. Estonia said it is pledging to raise its defense spending from 3.7% to 5%. which is great. Not surprising because they are bordering Russia, or that the country's right near Russia. So they've been typically very good. Poland, I think, is already at 4%. Poland, I think, has the highest of anyone. Is it 4 or 5 in Poland? I think it's 4 in Poland, but they've got the highest of anybody percent based on the size of their economy, which is really good. But anyway, good to see other folks doing that. All right, let's move to the question and answer period. This is where we hang out and we talk. Again, like I said, we'll talk about my internet woes maybe in a little bit, but this is very frustrating. It's very frustrating. What do you do? Anyway, all right, guys. Egypt. Not sure what you mean about Egypt. US's percentage is currently, I knew this. US is 3.2%, 3.3, 3.4, something like that. So to get us to 5% would mean increasing U.S. defense spending 50%, which would be insane, basically. Thank you, Skywalker. U.S. is spending $800 billion, more than that, really, $850 billion a year on defense. We would have to increase our defense spending over $400 billion a year at the same time that we've got a massive budget deficit. We can't afford it. So I don't quite know how the U.S. would manage to. I mean, if Republicans do that, it's going to break the budget. You know, I am here, Taff. If I don't pop up on your For You screen, it's TikTok. It's not me. I am still here. Any news on the possibility of going into Mexico after the cartels? No news on that. That would be kind of an act of war against Mexico if we invaded to go after the cartels. That'd be a little concerning. Thank you, David, for the feedback on the connection. Canada, yes, Canada is pretty bad. Canada, WC spends 1.37% of its GDP on defense. That is very bad. Every NATO country committed 20 years ago to spend at least 2% of its GDP on defense. So 2% of the size of its economy had to be spent on defense. Half the NATO countries still don't. Canada, particularly bad at 1.37%, to be honest. I'm not quite sure why they're doing that, but it's not good. Darcia is saying Canada increased to 2% this past summer. Okay. I have not seen that as or meaning they've committed to it or they're actually spending it, because I've not seen anything saying they're actually spending it yet. But I will take you at your word. What else? Oh, yeah, China. So this kind of interesting. Since we're just talking news overall, this DeepSeek AI thing, the stock market kind of went crazy today. NVIDIA and AVGO. What is? I'm already forgetting. What is AVGO? That's the stock symbol. I'm forgetting the name of the company. Broadcom. Their stocks plummeted today by like 17% or something because there were reports out of China that a competitor, an AI competitor called DeepSeek, was able to replicate sort of the AI success of OpenAI, ChatGPT, NVIDIA, whatever, with a very cheap system. They claim they only spent $6 million on it, and they claim they did it using cheaper computer chips because the U.S. limits computer chips that can get sent to China. That sent the stock market in a tizzy because it means China, if true, could take over AI, right? If they're able to do it with cheaper computer chips and cheaper overall investment, that's pretty scary. The only thing is, excuse me here, the only thing is, are the Chinese telling the truth? Did they do it with cheaper computer chips? Did they do it with only a $6 million investment? 5 or 6 million, right? I don't know. Maybe, but we don't know. NVIDIA, I know it's NVIDIA. What did I say, Luis? I know it's NVIDIA. That's what I call it. NVIDIA. That's what I called it. So yes, So that's sort of an interesting AI development, but it is why the stock market went down today and why. Oh, I called it NVIDIA. You're right. I know it's not NVIDIA. It's NVIDIA. Oh, NVIDIA. I called it NVIDIA. Okay. NVIDIA. Fair enough. Why NVIDIA and Broadcom dropped precipitously today. Thank you, Shane, for the gifts. Keep the gifts coming, guys. I do this for a living, and your gifts pay the bills. So please keep them coming. Tariffs in Canada. Do I think it will happen? Yes. He'll do it. He'll do it. He will do what he did with Colombia. Thank you, Flower Lady, for the gift. He will put the tariffs on Canada unless you cave, and if you then put tariffs back on us, we have a trade war. And the question becomes how much you can tolerate it. Like Colombia, we would have crushed their economy. Thank you, Marie. So Colombia wasn't willing to do it. Thank you, Stormy, as well, for the gifts on TikTok. The question becomes, can Canada handle a trade war with the US? I don't know. I just don't know in terms of your economy versus our economy, how that works. Trump is hoping that we would win, and therefore, you'll cave, basically. But will he do it? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, he'll do it. He'll do it. Interesting. Kevin is saying, seeing conflicting reports, Colombia is leaving its tariffs in place. That's interesting. That's interesting. Heidi is saying the same thing. They're not accepting our corn. I did not. I only read that. Let me look here and see about Colombia. Yes, the Belarus, as we're speaking about this, somebody's asking about Belarus. Yes, the Belarusian election, the dictator won 86.8% of the vote. Oh my God, they love him. So yeah, kind of BS on the elections in Belarus, which are not real elections, of course. Colombia. Let's see. Here's the latest from AP. Visa appointments this is from Associated Press. Visa appointments at the U.S. Embassy in Colombia were canceled Monday following a dispute between Donald Trump and his Colombian counterpart. Dozens of Colombians arrived at the U.S. Embassy and were handed letters by local staff that said their appointments had been canceled due to the Colombian government's refusal to accept repatriation flights of Colombian nationals over the weekend. Later on Monday, Colombia's Foreign Affairs Ministry said the government was sending a Colombian Air Force plane to San Diego to pick up a group of Colombians who were on a deportation flight that was not allowed to land. The victory claimed in Washington turned Colombia into an example of what other nations could face. Oh, God. Oh, God. I forgot. Oh, my God. U.S. State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce said Monday, oh, God, it is hard to explain to you who Tammy Bruce is. Oh, my God. She's another Fox News person. She's a lesbian who used to be a liberal 25, 30 years ago. And she switched over to being a MAGA before there was MAGA. And she would go on Fox News and bash Democrats and bash Planned Parenthood and all of this. She is as MAGA activist as you get. And they picked her, of course, to be the U.S. State Department spokesperson because these are the kind of people they're picking. Oh, my God. Dear Lord. I'm trying to see where this stands, though. Let me see. In Colombia, it can take up to 2 years to get a visa appointment at the U.S. Embassy. Wow. Wow. Those who had their Monday appointments canceled will likely have to wait several months for a new appointment. That's obnoxious. I mean, that's just obnoxious of Trump to do. Let me see. It's not mentioned. It's the trade stuff is Trump. It's not clear that any of that stuff still remains. The stuff, I mean, the deportation stuff is still in it, is still heightened tensions. Visa restrictions would remain. Okay, so exports would be put on hold, but added that visa restrictions on Colombian officials and enhanced custom inspections would remain until the first plane load of Colombian deportees is successfully returned. Well, that's not long. That'll be in a week. Yeah, I mean, I'm not convinced it sounds like much. I'm not convinced it sounds like much. It sounds like in a week everything will be back to normal. Problem is, Trump has just shown Colombians that it is not safe being a trade partner with the United States. And they've shown other countries the same thing. In the same way that, and we've talked about this, Trump has shown Europeans that relying on America for your defense, your security, is no longer valid. And frankly, relying on American trade deals are no longer valid. Relying on America's security deals are no longer valid. Every time Trump or a Republican comes in power, those things will now come into question. You can no longer rely on us. That is not a good position to be in. Thank you, Macabre. It's not a good position at all to be in, because it also means all of these countries will turn towards others, like China, which is very bad. So very, very, very bad. Ay, 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 ay. Anyway, blame Canada. Blame Canada. I don't remember how to sing the song anymore. I did love that movie. It's the only movie I went to. I don't like going to movies alone, but I was like branching out and I was like, I'm going to go to a movie alone. And I went to see the South Park movie where they go after Canada. And it was very, I was laughing. It was very funny. It was a damn good movie. Yeah. And I'm very picky about comedies and things. Because I don't like slapstick and things that I like. Like I didn't like Caddyshack, which all the Americans love Caddyshack. I really didn't like it. So South Park was definitely my sense of humor. Also, what was it? Force America? What's it called? Remember America? Fuck yeah! What was it called? The Team America. That's it. Team America. That was a hilarious. Oh, and with the North Koreans in it. That was a hilarious movie. Oh my god. Absolutely hilarious. Team America is another one because it kind of makes fun of America being the powerhouse of the world. I mean, I'm a very proud American, and I can be imperialist in my own way, but it still was very, very funny. Team America was a very funny take on America, leader of the world. It's wonderfully funny movie. Wonderfully funny movie. Anyway, the Gulf of America, exactly. Google announces it will change its Google Maps to go along with President Trump's order to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Is that true, Annie, or are you joking? Is that actually true? Is that true? That's interesting if it's true. Let me see here. Gulf of America. I don't quite know how maps work. Like what it's true. Wow. Yeah. Oh my God. It's in Reuters. Oh my God. It's a Reuters story. Google Maps to rename Gulf of Mexico Gulf of America for US users. Can I say that is the biggest suck up by Google yet? These companies are trying to pander to Trump. That is Google trying to pander to Trump successfully. Google Maps will change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America once it is officially updated in the U.S. geographic name system, it said in a post today. The change will be visible in the U.S., but it will remain Gulf of Mexico in Mexico. Outside of the two countries, users will see both names. Oh, wow. The Trump administration's Interior Department said on Friday it had officially changed the name of the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. And it also is changing the name of Alaskan Peak Denali to Mount McKinley, which is really rude to Native Alaskans, but whatever. Now, I will say one thing. I mean, Google is sucking up, but at the same time, they're not entirely wrong. I guess I would have to say countries get to name themselves, right? As I said, the French call the English Channel La Manche. I always forget La Manche. Is La Manche the sleeve? But La Manche, Manche. The rest of us call the English Channel the English Channel. We don't say the French are wrong for calling it La Manche. That's something totally different, right? The French get to call it what they want. We get to call it what we want. So it is the sleeve. That's what I thought, Gunther. So if the U.S. legally has renamed a body of water next to us, Google Maps should reflect what our country calls it, right? I mean, I guess it makes sense. It feels a little weird to me, but I guess it makes sense. My guess is Google also may have sat down and said, how do we name things? We name it based on the country that occupies it or whatever. And in the Gulf of Mexico, it's the US and Mexico that both occupy it. We have part of the coast. Mexico is part of the coast. So if the US has renamed something, even if it's silly, it is a legal renaming. So the maps should reflect the renaming for us. And for the rest of the world, they would say, right, this body of water has two names. In America, it's called this. And it's very interesting. Sweden changed the name on White Russia to Belarus. Oh, that's right. I always forget Belarus means White Russia. Yeah. Belarus. Yeah. That's funny. I always forget that's what it means. Yep. Very interesting. So, oh, well. Oh, Google. But again, Google in the end may not have had the choice, right? The Gulf. I like what not George, not Gary says. I'm calling it the Gulf. That's true. Or the Gulf. Another thing we call it in the U.S. is the Gulf Coast, right? The Gulf Coast. Well, Falklands and the Maldives. Well, it's not the Maldives. It's the Maldivas. The Maldivas. See, Maldives is a different part, Dave. Maldives, are they Mauritania or somewhere around there? I always forget where Maldives is. But the Maldivas are the actual, the Argentine name for the islands off of Argentina. Just to make things more confusing. Oh, that's funny. The Vietnamese call the Vietnam War the American War. That's funny. That's funny. Yulia, I am not having problems yet with political videos on TikTok. Not the Malvinas. Thank you. I knew it was the Malvinas. I knew that. Maldivas. Malvinas. Sí. Las Malvinas son Argentinas. Thank you for that. No, I am not, Yulia. Are you having something weird happening with political videos? By the way, you and I should talk about that offline. If you're awake when I'm done or tomorrow, so I can fill you in a little bit on that. Not to do it here. But I tend to be careful with my videos. Sí, hablo español, claro. Estudié español 12 años y también trabajé un rato en Argentina. No tanto, pero bastante para practicar. Para fijar mi español, digo, pero no sé si fijar es correcto. That's kind of a French word, I think, fixé, but I use it in Spanish. I forget whether it's the same in Spanish to mean like to nail it down. But yes, I love Spanish. Yes. Thank you. I don't speak Spanish much. I get to speak Spanish. Hablo español con mi perro. Well, no con mi perro, pero cuando estoy caminando con mi perro y conocemos gente en el barrio acá en la región, porque hay muchos latinos y hay bastantes que no hablan español. Los niños sobre todo. Entonces, hay que hablar español con ellos para decir, okay, sí, mi perro es muy simpática, Anyway, there, I was showing off my Spanish. But yes, I get to practice in DC because there's a lot of Latinos, and you either get old people who don't speak English or very young who don't, but then you get at a certain age they do. Like maybe by age 6 or 8, their English gets pretty good, but at age 3 or 4, they don't. Yeah, no, my Spanish, I mean, I've studied Spanish for 12 years, so my Spanish is good. Argentine Spanish, my Spanish was Argentine. Now it's watered down. My Argentine accent tends to come out when I'm nervous. So if I get put on the spot, like if you were to phone call me out of the blue and it's a call in Spanish where I go, oh my God, somebody in Spanish calling me, then I would switch to an Argentine accent because that's when I really nailed my Spanish. Now it's a mix. Probably depends what I say. It used to be stronger. JD, I never saw your comment. Um, no, JD, the show is about Trump as well and Ukraine. By the way, the show was only JD is upset that the show is about Trump now too. When the show was about Ukraine, everybody left. Like, we were not able to sustain 3.5 years. 3 years? Are we going on? We're going on 3 years. We were not able to sustain 3 years on just Ukraine alone. Probably about a year ago, it started collapsing. So it made sense to branch out anyway. And now that Donald Trump is, president, it's kind of hard not to talk about Donald Trump on a news show about politics, about somebody who is based in Washington, D.C. Oh, choripan. Sí, me gustó mucho. Sí, choripan. I forgot about that. So yes, I cover both. No, but some of the regulars don't like it either that I cover Trump. But you know what? It's what the show is now. If I do just Ukraine, I don't think there's enough news. I just don't. So mate, sí. So yes, anyway, this show covers both. But again, Trump, what do you want me to do? I'm going to call it as I see it. He ain't exactly a positive influence on the presidency, Are the pardons for the January 6th criminals a done deal? Oh, yes, they're done, Edgar. They're done. They are done. No, it's okay, JD. But yeah, I mean, it in the end, literally the viewership died anyway about a year ago. Ukraine, I mean, a lot of you regulars are still here, but there weren't enough people. So I had to start thinking what to do about the show. And at the same time, Trump was running for president. And as an American based in Washington, D.C., with a 40-year political background, it was difficult for me not to talk about Trump in the election. And now that he's president, what am I going to do? So, and I will say this too. It is difficult to talk about Trump. People want you to be, unbiased. But how do you do that? I mean, this is something I've struggled with, which is how do you, because people said, oh, try not to be negative about Trump because that way you can keep the you can grow more with Republicans and Democrats and everybody. But I was like, how do you talk about Donald Trump and not be negative? Right? I mean, objectively, how do you talk about Trump and not be negative? Right? How do you talk about what happened this weekend with the Tuskegee video and the women's video in the militaries and not be negative? I mean, I just don't know. I don't know. His tariffs are risking a rapid rise in inflation. How do you not say that? So that's the problem. Is it's not just a matter of upsetting someone. Donald Trump is a very negative person. It is very difficult to talk about him in a way that isn't negative. And here's the other problem, and this is a more theoretical thing, but and again, I would say for a journalist, I'd say for anybody who tries to be fair, let's forget journalists, just anybody who tries to be fair, tell the truth, don't be partisan, right? Let's not, and I think that's good. Like, don't just take a position because you're a Democrat or a Republican, right? If you believe Trump is a threat to our democracy and a very bad president, and you're being fair and objective, how do you not say that? Thank you, Melissa. In fact, are you not being, and this is something for the media, which people have argued a lot, is the media being objective if they treat Democrats and Republicans equally and say, well, Trump said this, Democrats said this, but Trump said this. Is that being fair? Or is it being fair saying Trump said this, but it's not true, right? If you know it's not true. And it becomes this interesting issue in media ethics and frankly, personal ethics of if you know something's not true and you know someone is doing something bad, if you don't call it that because you're trying to be fair, are you being fair or are you actually part of the problem? Right? I mean, in history, when bad people took over, did we want the media to be, well, I know this bad person is taking over the government, but we have to be fair, so we're not going to criticize them? Or when we look back in history, do we wish people stood up more to the bad people and called them out for being bad? This is a, I mean, and it's a conundrum for anybody trying to be fair. You know, it's a conundrum. I mean, it's like, how do you? So anyway, ha la 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 la, and yeah, well, exactly. Ah, anyway, well, that's the problem. Exactly. Sir Zerpachi says it's fair if you call out both sides, but if one side lies a lot, you call them out more. I forgot who in the media explained that and explained it well and said, you absolutely should go after both sides equally, but going after them equally doesn't mean complaining about Democrats and Republicans equally or it means treat them with the same standard, right? So that hold them both accountable for their lies, hold them both accountable for extremism, right? But if one party starts lying more or one person starts lying more, you can't treat that equally with somebody else who lies, like Biden, right? Biden lies sometimes. Trump, the data shows, lies much more. So are you being fair as the media, pretending they lie equally if one lies a lot more? No. The standard should be, we will hold you accountable for your lies and we will expose them. And if you lie a little, we'll expose you for that. And if you lie a lot, we'll expose you for that. But that's the problem, is some politicians are worse than others. They fail the standard more than others. You know, yeah, I may try to do this as a separate video. We'll see. I've always got to be careful with our overlords. I mean, protectors don't always like us talking about these topics. So I try to be very careful discussing these issues. So, you know, do I think Elon Musk could split the Republican Party? Elon is going to be interesting. Elon's going to be interesting because I think, okay, Elon Musk, richest man in the world, used to be kind of with Democrats. Now he's with MAGA Republicans, helped get Trump elected. But he also has gone really far to the right. He thinks the Reform Party in Britain isn't far right enough. And the Brits will tell you they're very right. He is supporting the AfD, which is the neo-fascist party in Germany that has had a lot of anti-Semitism problems and other kind of problems. Elon has also done some embarrassing things here in the US, including recently at Trump's inauguration, which I guarantee you Trump will not like. At Trump's inauguration, Elon was talking about his heartfelt, love for everybody in the audience, and he hit his chest hard and immediately, I can't do this because it'll get me in trouble, so I'm going to do it differently. He went boom, boom. And instead of boom, boom, putting his arm down, he put his arm up. And when you go boom, boom, and put your arm up, there really isn't any other movement I'm familiar with that does that other than the German military movement of World War II that would do that to salute their leader in World War II. It's a very famous salute that the Germans would do to their leader in World War II. Elon did that twice in a row. Whether or not you think Elon knew that was a fascist salute, the problem was it became a big scandal and a big discussion. Trump's literally 3 hours after Trump was inaugurated, Trump was sworn in. The story was not about Donald Trump, which is what he wants. The story was about Elon Musk and whether he did a German World War II salute at a Trump event 3 hours after Trump was sworn in, right? Again, the story should have been about Donald Trump that day, not about Elon at all. And it wasn't just Elon hogged the news. Elon hogged the news in a story about World War II Germany and whether Trump's top advisor was saluting the Germans of World War II. It just was a terrible story. And knowing Trump, knowing any president, even Trump, would get very, very, very upset at that because somebody else is stealing the show. Somebody else is stealing the news. And they're also stealing it in an embarrassing way, which Trump would not like. So I think there have been a number of problems with Elon with this. It is not clear in the end what's going to happen. I think Trump is certainly risking a divorce with Elon, but Elon's got so much money that Trump wants his money and influence. But at some point, Trump's going to be like, enough already. So let's see. But I think there will be a breakup at some point because typically anybody who gets close to Trump has a breakup eventually. Almost not everybody, but almost anybody. For most people, they do. You know. And yes, that salute is illegal in Germany and Austria. And a lot of Germans even weighed in and said, let me tell you, that salute is exactly what you fear it is. We're the experts. That's what it is. You know, anyway, what else? You tried to learn Spanish, but your French interfered. That happens. What happens with foreign languages, because I speak several, and I actually studied my brag moment, but I studied French, Spanish, Italian, and Greek simultaneously in my senior year of college, and it works. It surprisingly was not bad, but your strongest foreign language will start to take over your lesser foreign languages, and that's always the way it works. So when you're trying to speak, like, French is my best, Spanish is number 2. French will invade my Spanish usually. Italian is probably Italian and Greek are both number 3. Greek is different enough that it's hard to invade, but my Italian will get invaded with French and Spanish. And my even my Spanish will get some Italian. Like, I was doing a speech once in Spain years ago, invited to an internet conference to talk about blogging in America. And I did the speech in Spanish, which I was very impressed. And I told them, I said, look, my Spanish is good, but I have mistakes. And they said, no, don't worry. And I said, but the more important thing is I speak French and Spanish and I speak French and Italian. So there's going to be confusion. And I would be speaking about something and they'd go, that's Italian. I was like, okay, sorry. Or that's French. So you get that kind of crossover, but your strongest language will absolutely, not your strongest language as in English, but your strongest foreign language will kind of infect the other languages when you try to learn them and try to speak. It just is the way it is. Like I said, Greek was easier because Greek is so different that I almost feel like it occupies a different part of my brain when I try to speak Greek. It's funny. It's a funny thing. Yeah. I love languages. It's a lot of fun though. Monty Python Lumberjack song. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. See, Arctic is saying the same thing well, we would say Native Canadian. They would say First Peoples, but meaning the Inuit, or I always forget if you guys are Inuit or what the hell. Arctic. I will never keep it straight, but the, Native Canadian, once upon a time we'd say Eskimo in America, but we don't say that anymore. But that their language is so different, it doesn't mix with his French. I'm trying to explain it for everybody else, though. I know you know what I mean, but it's hard for everybody else because Americans are not familiar with the term First Peoples. I learned that when I went to Canada like 8 years ago, and I was like, First Peoples? What is that? And it's the word for sort of, or First Nations or whatever. Yeah, see, don't even, and Inuit are not First Nations. Exactly. It's all, in Alaska, we said Native Alaskans, which made it a lot easier. You would just say Native, I don't know whether it's changed now, but you'd say Native Alaskan and you were covered. But in Canada, I always get confused. And then talking about but Indigenous, yes, in Canada, you would say indigenous. In America, we would not. I remember when I was in Canada, like I said, probably almost 10 years ago now, and the woman in the store, there was a beautiful, oh my God, in Ottawa, beautiful stores selling the native, indigenous, whatever artwork and stuff. But a lot of it's stuff we can't buy because anything made with animal parts we can't bring back to the US. So the ivory and stuff, beautiful pieces. But she was telling me they say indigenous. And I said, oh, that's funny, because to an American, indigenous means, for example, the local tribe in the Amazon who has lived there for thousands of years is sort of the indigenous, or the local group in the African outback, the local tribe that still lives very, in a simple way, would be the word indigenous. To an American, indigenous has kind of a, maybe it's changing. Exactly, Colonel Mustard. It has a primitive overtone, and primitive itself is a bad word, but it has a primitive overtone to it to an American. Americans may say indigenous and it may be changing, but I will tell you, as a speaker of the language who's pretty adept, the word indigenous makes me a little uncomfortable. Yeah, but in any case. So it's hard because you try to use the local language, but the local language doesn't mean what it does in your language. So all of a sudden it gets confusing. Yep. And subsistence in Alaska as well. Indigenous is a blanket term. If you're in the group, you say native. That's interesting. Well, again, maybe because I was working for the state of Alaska, we would say Alaska natives. Well, and that's what they call themselves, Alaska natives. And it's the term we would use working with them. But again, just because the Alaskans use that doesn't mean it's what you'd use in Canada. Very confusing, as I said. And Native Americans, exactly. Well, that's true too, right? Native Americans. But Native Americans is a term for Indians. It's not we wouldn't use that term for Alaskans. Alaskans are Alaska natives, which is also funny. Again, maybe that's changed over the years since I was working up there. But it's funny, like I said, the language. Indigenous is becoming more frequent. Okay, well, again, it's changing with the times, so that's fine. Anyway, actually, we've been going almost an hour and a half. So, all right, now we can talk internet. So TikTok, interestingly enough, using the slower connection, TikTok has been okay tonight, which is interesting. YouTube, the problem with YouTube is even once I switched to the fast connection, you still had issues, which now means I have no idea, which is confusing as hell. But on TikTok, at least the connection stayed good. Very weird. Very weird. I don't know, debaucherous. I don't know what you're talking about. No. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what to do. It's been more stable the last 15 minutes. I mean, that's when or 15, 20 minutes ago, I switched. I am using a PC for my YouTube connection. Yes. I did not clear my cache on clear what cache? On my laptop? What cache would I be clearing? In my browser? My browser cache or which? I mean, the modem's new, so I could reboot the modem, but the modem's literally a week old, Well, that's just it. It was rough the other day too. Ugh. I'm very annoyed. I think I'm going to have to use my Verizon, and I don't want to do. Like I said, Sasha needs water. 1 quick second. Dog needs water. Dog needs water. Oh. 1 second, you. Oops. One moment. All right. Ooh, and I have to show you. And I need to show you my eggplant parmesan that I made right up until the show. It is cooled, so now I'm going to have to try it. But I made it right up to like the minute the show was starting. Hopefully it's good. We shall see. But I love eggplant parmesan. It's the cook's recipe, which is Cook's Illustrated, which is a less moist. So we'll see. The modem, well, um, the modem on eggplant is aubergine. Yes, yes, we say eggplant here in America. I don't know why. It's kind of it almost sounds like a native translation or something. We say eggplant. That's funny. That's very funny. Yeah, aubergine, which is the French name, but we would never use the French name here. Um, but uh, so yes, so on YouTube, I was initially using my T-Mobile modem, the new one. I was using the 2.4 gig, SSID Wi-Fi. It was having problems, so I switched to the 5 gig. It was having problems, so then I switched to my Xfinity, which is my very quick connection. That's more expensive, but it's always pretty solid. Yeah, PC cleanup software I'm not going to touch, David. That stuff can screw up your computer, especially on a Mac. I've got some of that. I've got Onyx, which I've used recently. I've got a good one for Mac that I've already used. Aubergine in German. Oh, that's funny. Aubergine's a color, except it's probably an eggplant color, like a purple, I'm going to guess. Eggplant comes from the natives. I'm assuming it comes from like a Native American or something, would be my guess. Anyway, but I am on Xfinity now for YouTube. Yes, I switched back to Xfinity, but we did have a buffering problem, which was strange. So who knows? Who knows? Oh, does the name eggplant come from Arabic or something? Translated? But yes, so I'm trying to figure out the internet issues. Like we said, it's because basically, like I said, for T-Mobile, I can get a deal for $35 a month, which is crazy. Xfinity is $65. I have to pay for the modem and router, which I did $140. And in 2 years, they're going to raise the price on me $10 or $20, which is just obnoxious as hell. So it's a little annoying. T-Mobile's so much cheaper. It's just kind of sick. But for the work I do with you guys, I probably don't have a choice. If I'm going to stream, Syndicate was telling me the same thing. If I'm going to stream, I probably have to stick with, the best connection, but it's really annoying. You pay 120. Wow. That's insane. Yeah. Eggplant is aubergine in French. Aubergine. Wait. So stuff is expensive over here. Yeah. Oh, the DeepSeek. Yes, I did not try DeepSeek yet. I was tempted. You pay $150 a month for Starlink, right? Because you're in the middle of nowhere, though. So in terms of internet, right? But yes, so I would have liked to have. The 65 isn't terrible. I'll break even on my modem in 10 months, which is fine. But it's just annoying. It's Comcast is so expensive, but the other services didn't offer as good of an uplink. The T-Mobile uplink, T-Mobile overall, the service is great. On my laptop, it's not as good. On the iPad and my phone, the service is incredibly fast for the T-Mobile. It's kind of crazy. I'll tell you right now, for example, let me go on just for fun. The T-Mobile, here we go. This is the 5G. I set up both just to have them. So the 5G, hello 5G, come back to me. Where are you? Hey, come on, there you are. Okay, this is the 5G T-Mobile. And I'm going to do a speed test on this. That should be on the iPad, it should be very good. Let's see. On my phone, it's very good. Finding provider. At the end of the show, we do this. We hang out and we talk about other stuff. So, all right, let me see here. Now, I'm streaming, so let's see. Maybe it's not going to be as good. Let's see what the speed is here. Actually, not so good. The download is not good, but I wonder if it's because I'm streaming. Yeah, the download isn't very good right now, but I wonder if it's because I'm streaming. Yeah, 60 download is bad. Now the upload is pretty good though. I mean, the upload being 50 is pretty good for streaming. Yeah, so it's 60. The download is horrific, but I think that's because I'm streaming with you guys. Usually the download is very good. But I don't know. Yes, the sweater was my dad's or my mom's. We think it was my dad's. Kind of a ski sweater. I need to get the zipper fixed, which I'm going to, but I love it because also it fits me nicely. It's like it's my Star Trek sweater. I feel like it looks like Star Trek with the little, but it's nice because it's a very and it's acrylic, I think, which is nice though because it's comfortable. If it were wool, it would actually be too warm for me. And it's got like a lining and stuff, so it's actually like it's got a fleece lining, so it's actually quite warm. But yeah, it's kind of a. I think my guess is it's dad's ski sweater from the 1960s is my guess. It's very cool, yeah. But I've got to get the zipper fixed, so you know. Oh, that's interesting, Gunther. That's interesting. I've not gotten the zipper fixed yet. I've still got to go to the lady around the corner and ask her. DC statehood, yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, Washington D.C., where I live, is not a state. It is not in a state. It's too late for that, Gunther. It's not in. We are not in any state, which sucks because we don't get representation in the U.S. Senate. There has been talk about making DC a state. I'm not convinced. We should be something, but honestly, DC is like a city that works okay. It used to work poorly. It works better now, but I'm not convinced DC is of the caliber of a state, to be honest. The problem is it is a unique territory, and it does deserve representation that we don't get. So it's a tough call as to what to do with it. You know, it's a tough call. Who knows, Jack? I mean, Jack is asking about DeepSeek, which is the Chinese AI. Is it good for competition or innovation? I mean, I think look, competition in general is good if it's doing a cheaper version than ChatGPT and the other guys, then it's going to make them try twice as hard. Right? So that's, you know, that's gonna make a difference. I have not seen it yet, Arctic. I'm suspecting it's in your messages to me on Discord. I'll go check later. I've not seen it yet. But yeah. Washington, D.C. is not a state. No. We are a federal district. I guess Buenos Aires is the same way, actually. Mexico City might be the same. I'm trying to remember, right? Distrito Federal. But therefore, we do not have representation in the United States Senate, which is ridiculous. We have a House member who's very weak and doesn't seem to have full power. And in the Senate, we have nobody at all. So our representation in Congress is terrible. Yes, it is. No, it is not. Rob, I've lived here for 40 years. Trust me, Washington, D.C. is not a state. It absolutely is not. Our license plates even say taxation without representation. At least it used to be. The logo on our license plates used to say taxation without representation, which was a famous American Revolution kind of thing. Yeah. Oh, Mexico, you mean? Okay. I wasn't sure about Mexico. Yeah. I know it's a Distrito Federal, but I wasn't sure if that meant it's not part of a state or whatever. Yeah. Yes, I saw you say that, Aminata. Working in DC is fine. Living in DC is okay too. We have some nice neighborhoods now. But you know, what's important about American? In what sense, Prudence? In what sense? Mexico DF. Yep. For it's annoying. It's annoying. It you know, not having the representation. So well, the other ways to get representation would be that you literally become part of one of the other states, so that DC becomes part of Virginia or Maryland. Culturally, it probably makes more sense for it to become part of Maryland. I don't know whether DC wants to, probably doesn't. I don't know if Maryland wants to, you know. Oh, Mexico City changed. Okay. CDMX. What is that? Ciudad de Mexico or Ciudad Mexicana, or what does that mean? I do ski. I haven't skied in a long time though. But I do love to ski. YouTube just caught up. That's funny. That's funny. Ciudad de Mexico. See. Sasha, come on. I just gave you water. You can wait a little bit. Jesus Christ. Wait a little. Oh my God, wait. She's in her bowl doing the. Oh God. Trying to make me. My dog has me around her finger. She's hitting her bowl now to make me feel guilty. All right. A little bit more, but I do not want you waking me up tonight to go out. That is not our goal, right? My goal is for the dog not to wake me up to pee in the middle of the night or an hour before I have to get up. That's one of my favorites too. I may or may not pick her up only because she gets kind of annoyed. She hates being picked up. The flower behind me. So the flower behind me is my Christmas cactus. I don't know. There, you can barely see the flowers though on it, but this is my traditional Christmas cactus. It's actually blooming quite nicely. I'd have to see if I could maybe give you a little bit of a better sense there. A little hard to tell, but this one is still blooming. My other ones, actually, you guys can see a little bit there. You can see a couple of the blooms there, the purple ones on YouTube. It's all my other ones have already bloomed. This one, yes, the other ones are done. This one is still blooming, and there might be a little bit more of a flower coming elsewhere, but this one is still in bloom. It's doing pretty well. It didn't bloom as much this year, but it's doing pretty well. So, but yes. Oh, I forget, Poppy, which one? Of the main one? I'm happy to. Again, I've got to I could start doing it now because it's going to take a few months for the roots to get ready. Which one do you want, though? I have many. You can reach out to me if you want privately, but I've got like the main mom one, which is like, I think this is probably the main mom one. This one goes back to 1989. This is the one. The old vintage one is this. Yeah, this goes back to 1989 at least. And I either bought it when I was working in the Senate in 1989, or it's a cutting from mom's. Although I do have mom's as well that we know goes back decades earlier. So it's smaller, but I could do a couple cuttings of that one. I got to look at it, but I think I could do cuttings of it. It's still kind of coming along, but okay. Yeah. Let me look. I'll grab some and put them in water for you. You want a cutting too, Arctic? Well, again, what of the big one? I can do that. The most expensive cutting ever. What do you mean? Why would it be expensive? Oh, well, I mean, if you mean your support of me, but yes, but no, I'll do more cuttings. Yeah, I don't mind. We just have to wait to ship it, obviously, until freeze is gone, which for you guys is postage. Oh, yeah, but what? It'll be $20 probably. It shouldn't be very heavy. When's the last freeze where you are up in Canada, in northern Canada? I'm going to guess June, July. Wow. Okay. That's funny. July. Oh my God. That's funny. Jeez. That was like in Alaska. In Alaska, they said we have 4 seasons. June, July, August, and winter. We're the 4 seasons in Alaska. June, July, August, and winter. But which I thought was very funny. Oh, good. They're starting to grow tiny roots. Those you've had for a while now. You don't. Do you have them in water? Or you got them in soil, or what? Again, depending which ones. As I said, different Christmas cactus. Well, you know this. Different Christmas cactuses have different tolerance for water. It's very weird. Like some rot easily, some don't. Some flower easily, some don't. Like this one, the big one, does not flower as easily, but it's pretty tolerant for water not rotting and stuff. Um, oh, is our corpse flower happening here this year, Danny? I saw a news story, but I didn't know it was here. Is that the one we've got here that's ready? Ooh, ooh. I did not know about that. Ooh. Except it's already starting to fade, isn't it? I'd gone a couple years ago when it flowered. Yeah, it already happened though. I think I missed it. How did I not know this? Ah, shoot. Well, it already started to change a little bit. The line is 2 hours long. I did go once years ago. I don't remember. I thought it wasn't in DC. Is it in our botanical garden? I thought it was somewhere else, the one I saw on TV. I thought. I'll double check, but let me look. I was going to say New York is a little too far for me. I don't think DC. We have one in DC. Let me see. And I went several years ago to see it. And I don't recall the scent. Although it should be every year or so, right? Let's see here. News. Sydney. Oh, it's New York. Yeah, it's New York. Okay. When is ours? No, July. It was July of last year. Hello. Hi. What you doing? What you doing, little crazy? Oh my God. Am I supposed to? Oh my God. Am I supposed to throw this? Okay, let's throw it. Oh my God. The dog is basically telling me I'm pent up and I want to play. And I don't care if go get it. Go get it. Oh my God. She's telling me I want to play and I don't. Hello. Hi. Oh my God. Yes. Ready? Whoa. And it bounced off her face and went away. There we go. Okay. Sorry. Okay. It blooms 2 to 3 days once every 2 to 3 years. Last year, 2 corpse flowers were on display. I did not know that. Okay. I missed that one. So, May and April. Nice. Okay, so it's every 2 to 3 years. So it's probably, Sasha, stop it. It's probably 2026, 2027. Okay. Yeah, so I think we've got a couple years here in DC before it develops. How fun. Yeah. Got 2 of them in 1 year. That was nice. It's not kind of telling us the prediction, though. Do we have multiple plants? I think we've got 2 plants. Oh. Peak bloom, maybe 2022. Maybe that's the one I saw. I saw one in the last few years. Okay. In any case, 2024 was the last, which means it looks like maybe we've got a couple years to go. 2 corpse flowers were on display to the public July of 2024. Okay. All right. Well, we shall see. Huh. Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see when the next one is. Hopefully. Oh boy. All right, guys. Yeah. I didn't see 24, but I saw several years ago. Oh, Dobby. I'm telling you, Debbie is Dobby. Wow, and she sits in your thing while shopping. That's very good. That's really good. Wow, that's really good. That's a damn good dog. Um, oops. Oh, the tulip survived the winter there. I'm surprised. Um, anyway, your dog Cookie's going mad, has her paws on the coffee table. Oh, because of Sasha squeaking? That's funny. I know. I didn't want you to throw it. I just wanted you to look at me. That's exactly it, though. I throw it, and then she's like, eh. Dobby. Everyone's making Dobby jokes over on TikTok, Gunther. Dobby is a free elf. Can you give Dobby a sock? Well, actually, the dog is a female, so he called her Debbie instead of Dobby, even though the dog looks like Dobby, which is very funny. I mean, actually, I'm going to take a picture and show you on TikTok. The dog totally looks like Dobby. It's very funny. Where's my camera? Here it is. Here it is. Oops. There we go. That is Dobby the dog. Dobby the dog. Debbie, Dobby the dog elf, Debbie. So that's her with the ears. I will show you guys on YouTube as well. So for YouTube, that is Gunther's new dog, Debbie, named after Dobby the elf because of her ears. But is that too cute with the ears? And even the look is a little Dobby, kind of looking down a little bit, you know? Yeah, very funny. But female, so he called her Debbie instead of Dobby, which made me laugh. So anyway, all right, guys, I think I'm going to sign off. We're actually almost at 2 hours. Oh, excuse me. I have an eggplant parmesan calling my name that I hope is aubergine parmesan that I hope is any good. We shall see. But thank you for joining us tonight, guys. Appreciate the gifts. Appreciate you hanging out in these troubled times of TikTok and giving me the feedback on my internet. I think we'll try it again tomorrow, and then maybe I'm going to cancel, which is too bad. But, I will say my phone is working great. My T-Mobile phone is working great. It works in the grocery store too. I find it works in my building, which my old phone didn't, and it works in the grocery store, which is my own phone as well. My YouTube is that name up there, John Aravosis DC. So do check it out. But yes, we can see about Saturdays. Maybe that's true. The Saturday subbing thing. Although honestly, people should go and sub over on YouTube because TikTok is still up for grabs. We just don't know what's going on with TikTok. So kind of scary. Anyway, you are welcome, Cinderella. So thank you guys. I'm going to go, like I said, 2 hours here. So I think we've talked enough. Oh, thanks, Rusty. Appreciate that. And let's just check in tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow, 6:00 Eastern time, US, my usual time. We will talk about Ukraine. We will talk about Trump, US politics, etc. All right. See you, Arctic, Gunther, everybody, all the regulars, all the mods. And I will do some cuttings of the old plant to at least get them growing, but it'll take several months. And even Poppy, last question for Poppy. When is your last freeze there? I know Arctics, forget it. He's July. But is Poppy still here? When's your last freeze? Because I can't mail the plants until the freeze is over. I'm forgetting. You're further south, which means yours might be April, like DC's. Mid-April, that's like DC. Well, ours can often be earlier, but mid-April is our last known freeze. Even though it could be earlier, mid-April. Yeah, I can get them started now. January, March. Yeah, January, February, March, April. That's longer. That's long enough to get a very good roots. So, all right, guys. Thank you, user 336. Well, I do auction the cuttings. I'll auction more of them. Yeah, I've got 2 sets of them that I will show you. 2 sets that I do need to auction when it gets warmer. I've got these are very nice ones because these are the white ones that are very nice. Well, I'll show you the roots. The roots these roots have been going for probably a year now, practically. So these things are like all roots. But I've got white ones and the beautiful sunset, the white ones are very nice. The beautiful sunset orange ones are gorgeous. They're the ones that can be a little more difficult.
because the red, both of them flower very well. The white ones, easy to take care of, grow fast. The red ones, orange, grow slowly, and you can overwater them and rot them. So, but they flower great, and they're stunning. I've never seen anything like the reddish orange. They were my brother's godmother's plant going back 30 years at least, because she's been long gone. So kind of neat because they were her plant, and I keep 2 plants going because I almost lost it a few years ago, because if you overwater it, it can rot. So I almost lost the entire plant. It's back now. I've got a separate thing going, and I've got cuttings here which I can auction. I was planning on auctioning, but I've got to wait until $50. It's yours, Lee. I've just got to wait until it's warmer across the board in the US. So maybe I still may wait until June, because even Chicago, I know, is like May is the last freeze. So you got to kind of be careful with that, so you don't kill them, But oops, put this back. But yes, I will do that. I will grab some of the I'll grab some of the other cuttings, maybe even now, to get rolling at least. Yeah. And then do some auctions in a few. They're Christmas cactuses, but I've got a number of different varieties, including one that's nice because it's very old. It goes back to like my grandmother, which means probably the 1960s, if not earlier. I do have, hold on. I hate when I sneeze too much because then it makes like my asthma go off. I do have flowers of them. Yes, a little hard to get them now, but I've got flowers of all of them. But there's a number of different varieties that are very neat. Like I said, there's a white one that's very pretty. There's the typical purple one. That's the one that goes back decades that I've got, which is kind of neat too, because people were telling me years ago that a lot of people don't have the original plants anymore, that a lot of the Christmas cactuses are all the new varieties. So it can be kind of cool to get the original plant, which I've got. And then I've got the sunset red orange one that's just stunning. It's just this beautiful color. But in any case, we will talk plants, and maybe we should do that sometime. We should like have a live just to talk about plants. We could do that, or a live just to talk about food, because typically we get into all this stuff otherwise, and we should probably just do one. See, I don't know what the Russian trolls are going to do if we talk about food the whole time. Anyway, yes, we did hit 100,000 likes on TikTok. Thank you guys. All right, let me hang up. It's been 2 hours. I will see you guys tomorrow, 6 o'clock Eastern time, US. Goodbye TikTok, goodbye Discord, goodbye YouTube. Thank you all. And then we'll test my internet again. All right. Good night, Discord. All right, YouTube. See you guys. And TikTok.